Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something pretty fundamental, I think, to being human. We're talking about the return. You know, that moment, maybe it catches you by surprise when you start finding your way back after things have been tough. That first little sign of hope.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to explore this by looking at some really powerful material today. We've got bits from the Nafas Madrid podcast. It's a very personal take on the return.
Okay.
And we're also weaving in some thoughts from an Arabic piece. That translates roughly to the game of loss, the journey back.
Interesting. So different sources, potentially different cultural angles.
Maybe slightly different nuances, yeah.
Right.
But what's striking is how that core human thing, finding your way back, just resonates across both.
Right. So our mission here then is to really get under the skin of this return. Like, what actually sparks it?
Yeah.
What does that first step, or maybe just the thought of a first step, really look like? And I guess, why does even that tiny move matter so much?
Okay, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
So what's fascinating right off the bat is this idea that the return, it's usually not something you meticulously plan.
Not like a project plan.
Exactly. It doesn't show up with a 5-point strategy. Instead, like Nafas Madrid puts it so well, it often comes from a small feeling, one you didn't expect.
A small feeling, unexpected.
Yeah. So the big idea here isn't about grand plans. It's about how something sudden, positive, something you weren't looking for, can kind of break through the apathy.
Right. Cut through the noise or the numbness.
And just reignite that sense that,
yeah,
maybe things can change.
Okay, so that small feeling, the podcast gives this example. I thought this was great. A Benzema goal for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Just watching that goal suddenly triggers this forgotten feeling, like a little jolt of actual emotion that you thought was gone.
That's it. That sudden jolt. It's like you said, a crack of light appearing when it's been dark for a long time.
Yeah.
And this links up to something happening inside, too. The podcast talks about that sudden little voice saying, get up. Or maybe an image just catches you.
Yeah.
Something grabs your attention out of the blue. It
Yeah.
really highlights the contrast, between being stuck, maybe because you just don't want to face anything.
Yeah, that avoidance state.
Right. And then this sudden shift kicked off by something tiny.
Yeah.
Could be external, could be internal. It's like breaking out of that learned helplessness almost.
It's like being frozen and then just one single drop starts to melt. It doesn't seem like much, but it means the ice is starting to break.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And then Nafas Madrid uses these incredible Real Madrid comeback stories as this really powerful metaphor.
Ah, yes, the football example.
Yeah, the one against Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
Champions League. They lose 2-0 away.
Oh, I remember that. It felt basically impossible to turn that around, like a mountain to climb.
Totally. Everyone wrote them off.
Yeah.
An insurmountable challenge, people said. And the feeling at the Burnaby after that first game was just heavy. You could feel the hope draining away.
Yeah.
But then that second leg, it became this amazing display of belief, just surging back. Not just in the team, but the whole stadium.
You could feel it through the screen even.
Absolutely. And each goal in that second match, the podcast points out, it felt like its own little comeback. A return of breath, of team, of identity.
I like that framing, return of breath. It's not just winning, it's like coming alive again, reclaiming something.
Precisely. And then the podcast turns it right back to you, the listener.
Oh, okay.
Suggesting that you, too, can have that kind of return, even when it feels totally, completely over.
Right. So we've got these big, dramatic sporting comebacks. How does this translate down to, our own lives? What does that return look like? Because it's probably not usually winning the Champions League.
Probably not, no. And the podcast does a great job of bringing it right down to earth. These small, really concrete examples.
Like what?
Like finally replying to that message you've been avoiding for ages.
Okay, yeah. We've all been there.
Or just going for a walk when you've felt kind of stuck inside. Or even just letting yourself feel joy again about something simple like that goal we talked about. And really drives home the point that a return doesn't have to be this huge earth-shattering thing to be massive for you.
I know, it's the small re-engagements, those little steps back towards connection, activity.
Yeah, exactly. And then the episode hits on this really powerful idea. There's no such thing as too late.
Oof, that lands, I think. Yeah, a lot of us probably need to hear that sometimes.
Well, it pushes back against that idea, doesn't it? That if you struggle or fallen back, you're somehow weaker or done for.
Yeah, like you've missed your chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, Nafas Madrid flips it. It calls people who are returning fighters. It emphasizes the strength, the resilience it takes to even think about coming back.
That's a much better frame.
And it says it straight up. You can always come back. No conditions.
Always. Okay. And then they use another Real Madrid comeback.
Oh, yeah, the legendary one. Manchester City.
Oh, man. That game was unreal.
Totally unreal. And the podcast zooms in on that feeling, like minute 90. It's done. People are actually leaving the stadium.
Yeah, commentators basically calling it over. City are through.
And what's key here is how the podcast sets that feeling of utter defeat against what happens next. Those 2 goals, bang, bang, out of nowhere.
K's wonderful chaos if you're a Madrid fan.
Right. And the point the podcast makes isn't just, wow, they were suddenly amazing, but it was more about this stubborn belief that it could still happen, even when all logic, all evidence screamed, no way.
So belief trumping logic in those moments.
Kind of, yeah. It connects to this beautiful metaphor they introduced, this idea of a player inside you called hope.
Okay, like hope is on your internal team.
Exactly, and that player keeps nudging you, telling you to get up, even when you feel weighed down, even when maybe your rational mind is saying, just stay down. It's that little spark of human drive, maybe, personified as hope.
I like that, hope as an active player, not just a passive feeling.
And this really leads into the more personal side of the return that the podcast gets into. The speaker actually shares their own story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about feeling completely done, just facing huge loss, total exhaustion, and the act of coming back from that, not perfectly, not like a movie ending.
No, real life, messy.
Exactly. Messy, but honest.
Yeah.
Authentic.
And that honesty, that feels important.
It's crucial. And the podcast really emphasizes the return doesn't need applause. It needs belief that you deserve to come back.
Wow. Okay. Say that again. It doesn't need applause.
It needs belief, your belief, that you deserve to come back.
That cuts right through needing other people to approve or even notice, doesn't it? It's internal.
Totally. It's about your own permission, your own sense of worthiness, which ties in beautifully, actually, with the end of that Arabic text.
How so?
Well, the text speaks directly to you, the listener.
Yeah.
It suggests that if you've stuck with it, if you're engaging with these ideas, you're not just listening, you're a seeker.
Seeker. Okay.
And just by seeking, just by exploring this stuff, you're already on the path. You're already, in a sense, on your way back.
That's a really empowering thought. That just showing up, just listening and thinking about it is actually doing something. It's part of the journey itself.
It is. And the Arabic text reinforces that. Every breath we take here is a step toward finding our way.
Yeah.
It links this very act, right now, listening, reflecting, directly to that process of return.
Every breath is a step. Wow.
And maybe one of the most, moving images from Nafas Madrid is this idea that even a cracked voice of return is the strongest voice.
A cracked voice, meaning like imperfect, hesitant.
Yeah. It acknowledges it might be shaky, you might not feel strong or ready, but the sheer courage in making that sound anyway and starting to speak again, to engage again, that's where the real strength lies.
So it's okay if it's not perfect. The act itself is powerful.
Incredibly powerful, because that feeling of being done, it often strips away our self-belief, right?
Sir.
So that emphasis on deserving to return, on your intrinsic right to come back, that's vital.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what we've really seen today is, well, first, that the return often starts unexpectedly, from a small spark.
Unplanned.
And then the huge power that's actually held in those tiny beginnings. Replying to the text, taking the walk.
Those small acts of defiance against inertia.
Yeah. And underpinning it all is this fundamental human thing, its capacity to come back, right? Fueled by belief, resilience.
And the examples, whether it's the roar of the Bernabeu during a comeback or the quiet bravery of hitting send on a difficult message, they all point to that same core truth.
It's universal in different scales.
Absolutely. And like both sources suggest, if you're here, if you've engaged with this, that says something.
Right. It means you're already involved in this idea, already maybe seeking.
You're already on a path.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't always feel clear.
You're not finished. You're coming back. Maybe stronger than before.
Let your voice return.
Even if it's cracked.
Because that voice of return,
yeah,
that's the strongest voice there is.
So maybe just take a moment after this. Think about those little feelings, those tiny urges you might have dismissed.
They could be the start, the quiet whispers of your own return.